sometimes you end up thinking that the more I write, the better the way in which I send across my message, but not necessarily be the case. So in a corporate world, for instance, the shorter the way in which you are able to write, the better. Because the audience or the people who wants to read what you write has got no time to read all the pages that you put down. So in my case, for instance, if I have to convince my chairman, who is the Prime Minister, he doesn't have time to read 30 pages or let alone 300 pages of report. He just wants to know, what is this issue all about? Why do you want me to be involved in this thing? And why do you want me to read this? And what decision you want me to make? And that should be done within 5 minutes. He doesn't have time to read a 200-page report. So the ability to crystallize and to put what you write in a manner in which you are able to immediately convince the reader that this is the subject matter, it is how you analyze it, and this is the decision that you want to make is important. So that skill must be acquired at the very early stage of your life, and that includes the way in which you are being educated now. Yeah? And thirdly is, of course, it is of no use if you are able to speak, if you are able to write, but if you are not able to negotiate. In the real world, the success is all about the ability to negotiate and the ability to convince the other party that what you say is the one that you want that decision to be given. So sometimes, or in fact, most of the time, these are all about the ability to negotiate. So countries negotiate with each other. Individuals also negotiate with each other. You sometimes, without realizing, negotiate with your teachers. Yeah? Sometimes, as student leaders, you also negotiate with the organizers or with the person that you want to, for example, in this case, have this event. Yeah? So these are, to me, some of the important traits that you need to possess in order for you to be able to launch yourself as future leaders, which I'm sure at times you seems to ignore or not able to grasp. And that sometimes is the one that is able to distinguish you from the others. Now, the other perhaps aspect is the ability to have a foresight, to look to the future and solving the ones that you have focused today rather than keeping it to the very end. So again, using Iskandar Malaysia as an example, we always think about problems and issues that we will be facing if we do nothing about it today. So for example, whether we are tackling issues of crime, whether we are tackling issues of employment, whether we are trying to address issues of public transport, we don't leave it until it becomes a problem. Because today, unlike it was before, many years ago, we can't have to a certain level of certainty about information. Today, with technology, it is quite easy to find data and to find information and to use information to do forecast and analysis and to be able to forecast with a certain level of certainty about what would happen in the not so far future or sometimes within a certain number of years, and try to solve the problems of tomorrow today. So if you are able to do that, that means you are not only a leader, but a leader that is able to see the future and be able to solve today. And this is exactly what we do in Iskandar Malaysia. Yeah? Because people have been appreciative of the fact that why we in Iskandar Malaysia are able to travel from point A to point B without, that much of a problem in terms of traffic, for instance. But if you look at what has happened today, the infrastructure that we built 4 or 5 years ago. because we already foresee if you don't do nothing about it at that moment in time, then you will be cursing at us for not being able to anticipate what actually would be the problems of today had we not solved it many years ago, or even as recent as 4 or 5 years ago. And again, the same thing will happen if we don't do anything today and we are quite satisfied with the way things are, and the problem will start to surface. Now, I'm relating the example of Iskandar, the way in which you will be facing problems or issues when you yourself become leaders in charge of certain projects or certain things once you become, or once you enter into the real world. So that ability is very important. Yeah? Now, the other thing that I also would like to share is about being able to be adaptive. Now, Malaysia is interesting, or rather peculiar, the fact that we have a multiracial society, multilingual, and a lot of people with several faith and as well as backgrounds, old and young, rich and poor, and this potpourri of things has made Malaysia even more stronger, because the challenge with our leaders today, whether you are in a corporate world or whether you are in government, is to be able to make as many of these members of the society satisfied. Of course, you will never make everyone satisfied. But as long as you have a certain level of satisfaction and being able to move forward, you will get more followers and you get more people who will agree to the things that you do. And this is very important, because at the end of the day, it is not only about what you do physically or otherwise on the ground, but the way in which your ability to send that message across to the recipient. There are a lot of things that we do today that has become an issue for individual member of the society because of our inability to send the right message across at the right time and at the right opportunity. We always, even though our intentions are good, our intentions are noble, but because of our inability to send the message across to the recipient at the right time, at the right location, at the right opportunity, then it becomes a negative thing rather than a positive thing to the people. So remember what I said. Yeah? It is very important whether you are leading an organization in the corporate world, whether you are part of the government missionary. It is very important to discuss with your team, and whatever you do, make sure that there is always this perception, yeah? Not only in reality but also in perception by the recipient that they benefit from all the things that you do. So we in this kind of Malaysia, sometimes we spend half of the time getting the right message across, rather than just doing things without informing the people who we are targeting. Okay, the other thing that, of course, I would like to share with you is one of your friends just now stood up and said, well, we hope that something good will come out of this. Well, I'm sure people from my colleagues from the education department, from the Yayasan, and from the other sponsors are always looking at this. I'm very much touched by the recent effort by none other than your alumni, who has actually come forward and organized all this. It has always been our intention that, as I've mentioned very early in my speech just now, that we want to make sure that leaders of the future, especially for Iskandar and for the state of Johor, will always be enriched, will always be harnessed, so that they will be prepared once they are ready to take the leadership of today. So, of course, the original intention was to let this go on its own momentum. But once in a while, we need to come in and